All right, now for some reason, 100 seems to be the magic number. If you ask a new freight broker, hey, how many sales calls do you make per day? Usually you're going to get a number somewhere in the neighborhood of 100. Now, where I think that comes from is the idea that says when you're a new freight broker or salesperson, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. Or another way of saying that is, hey, you throw a lot of stuff on the wall just to see what sticks. And I get that, but I happen to think there's a better way. A way that's going to allow for you to better utilize your time. So in today's video, I want to give you 3 reasons why you should not make 100 calls per day. And then better yet, I'm going to show you what you should do instead. So stay tuned. So real quick before we get started, just in case this is your first time here, I'm a freight broker, and my channel shares my experiences in overcoming the challenges and hurdles of small business ownership. And we do know there's a lot of challenges that we have to overcome. So if you need a growth partner, you're in the right place. And if you like these type of videos, make sure you hit that like button, make the like button turn blue, does a whole lot for my channel, certainly would appreciate it. And then hit the subscribe button if you want more videos like this, and then hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every time I release new videos. Now let's get into the business. All right, settle down, settle down. We're in the same camp. I know we have to make sales calls. If we don't make sales calls, we don't get any customers. And if we don't get customers, we don't get freight. And you know without freight, we don't have anything to sell. So we have to make sales calls. What we're exploring here today is why you don't need to make 100 calls per day, because we're not really looking at what comes with making that many calls per day, the effect that it could have on you and your business. So here's reason number 1 of why you don't need to make 100 calls per day. So now if you're a new freight broker and you're making 100 calls per day, you're very likely experiencing rejection over and over and over again, because that just comes with the territory. If you're new and you're making that many calls, that means you're not doing a very good job at researching that customer before you call, and you're new. And when you're new, everybody knows that you're new. So rejection is at its highest state. You're having to deal with that over and over and over again. And usually what happens, especially if you're a new freight broker, is you become overwhelmed by all of the rejection. Tired of having to face rejection after rejection. And then you start to second guess yourself, and then it's just a matter of time before doubt sets in and you give up on your business because of overexposure to your customer base. And some of you will say, hey, you know what, Brandon, I can deal with it. I'm the type of person that, hey, I'll just have to go through the no's to get through the yeses. And yes, that sounds good and briefs well, but in reality, most of us can't take that. We'll say we can do that, but when it really comes down to it, to have to deal with somebody telling you no over and over and over again, it'll start to make you feel like, man, does this even work? This can't be for me. So now I don't need to put the pressure of calling 100 customers per day on myself. I'm gonna break it down into bite-sized pieces and approach it one customer at a time. You know how the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So now reason number 2 of why you shouldn't make 100 calls per day is because you sacrifice quality for quantity. If you're making 100 calls per day, you're certainly not making 100 quality calls per day. And when we say quality, we mean, who did you talk to? What was the person's name? Can that person make freight decisions? What was that person's email address? And when did you arrange for the next meeting? Because if you're making those calls and you're not properly recording those calls, then that's kind of like trying to fill a bucket with water that already has a hole in it. Probably not going to do you a whole lot of good. The whole idea here is to be able to follow up based off of the information that you have. So you have to have good information and you have to record that information in order to be able to reference it. If you don't have that type of information, it's going to be hard to make good follow-up calls. And as we know, the key is in the follow-up. Success is in the follow-up. So let's make sure that we focus on the follow-up and not necessarily on how many calls we're making. So now you have a choice. Do you choose quality or quantity? I personally choose quality all day long and twice on Sunday, because what quality allows for me to focus on is a smaller number of customers, and usually I get a better result that way. Some people like to focus on quantity, call a whole lot of customers at one time, and that's okay as well. But what you have to also be concerned about is sometimes people do that to make it seem as if they're busy. And what I want you to know today is that busy and productive are 2 totally different things. Don't confuse the 2. Which one will it be for you? Quality or quantity? So now reason number 3 why you don't need to make 100 calls per day is because it doesn't pass the common sense test. It's just not feasible. Most of us that start freight broker businesses have a job as well. So you work 8 hours on your job and then you come home and commit 4 hours to your business. And if you're making 100 calls per day, if you make 25 calls per hour, that's 4 hours that you've spent making calls and you haven't done anything else yet. So it would behoove you not to just focus all of your time on making calls, but to disperse your time amongst the other things that need to be done as well. And the other side of that is it's probably better to start out with a number that you can keep consistency with. Because starting out with 100 calls per day, you might do that for 1 day, maybe 2 days, but you're probably not gonna keep that up consistently and continue to call 100 calls per day. So start out with a number that you can keep some consistency with. So now that I've shared 3 reasons why you should not be making 100 calls per day, you know I'm not gonna leave you without a solution. So here's what you should do instead. All right, so I'm assuming that it's obvious by now that I don't think you should make 100 calls per day. As a matter of fact, I think making 100 calls per day is a gross waste of your time, energy, and effort. I think you should make much less than 100 calls per day. So what is the number? I think you should make about 10 to 25 calls per day. No more, no less. And why you say so little? Let me explain. Personally, I would lean closer to the lower half of that number, 10 to 15 instead of 15 to 25. The reason why I would do that is because I think it's more about researching your customers to understand more about them before you make those calls. Because the more information that I have on my customer, the more prepared I am to talk with that customer. Because what we have to understand is that when you first start talking to the customer, you don't know much about the customer. All you know is what you've been able to gather. So that information is very, very important. It's gonna give you a leg up when you start conversing with the customer. So the more information we have, the more accurate information we have, the better conversation we're able to have. And I don't want to just rely on information that I got on the internet. No, where I'm going to rely on getting my information, a lot of my information at least, is from carriers. People that already are working in those facilities that have delivered freight there already. I want to learn about the freight. Hey, what type of freight are they moving? Where do you move lanes mostly? Are you moving in the northeast? Are you moving in them southeast? Where are the lanes originating? Where are you taking those lanes to? So we want to ask questions to our most trusted advisors, and that's our trucking companies. And when we get the shipper on the phone, there are 4 important things that we want to make sure that we get. Number 1, we want to know, who are we talking to? Can this person make a decision as it pertains to the freight? What is this person's email address? When can I talk to this person again? Because it's all about setting up the next appointment for when we can talk again. Because more than likely, 9 times out of 10, you won't get that customer's freight on the first call. So it's all about the follow-up. So setting the next appointment is key. So now let's look at when we should make calls. I'm a big proponent of making calls at specific times. I start out making half of my calls in the morning, the other half in the afternoon. I do that for a 30-day period of time, and then I take a look at the results. Now I can decide which is the best time for me to call. I typically make my calls Tuesday through Friday between 1 and 3 p.m. I don't usually make any calls on Monday because that's the first day back from the weekend. Okay, so now that's a wrap. So in quick summary, what we just covered, we gave you 3 reasons why you should not be making 100 calls per day, and then we gave you 3 things that you should do instead. Now, of course, I'm not saying that if you're making 100 calls per day and that's working for you, I'm not telling you to stop doing that. Of course, you keep doing what's working for you. So I hope this information was helpful. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, check out my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works, link in the description. And if you're not quite sure what to say to shippers, check out my free video titled What Do I Say to Shippers? So until the next time, see you at the top because the bottom is much too crowded.